The transfer portal is gutting the Big 12, specifically some of these teams that I would consider to be at the top of this conference. Now, we're going to talk later on in the show about how coaching changes could possibly be part of this, but coaching changes aside, just talking numbers, this isn't good. We're over 100 players in the Big 12 that are in the transfer portal, and what could be seen as a way for, schools to get some positive attrition. Yeah, we lost a few guys. We probably needed to lose those guys. There are some big names who have left in the portal and some big numbers. 24 guys at Cincinnati that are gone. They have lost. They've lost 24 guys in the portal. Scott Satterfield has lost the locker room. Speaking of losing the locker room, has Chris Kleiman lost his? 18 Kansas State players have entered the transfer portal. Chris Kleiman's a hard-nosed guy, tough guy, probably not that easy to play for. But 18 guys entering the portal, there are plenty of other coaches on this list that are tough to play for, hard to play for. That's a 5-man gap from the team that's third to last. Now, it's still not as bad as Cincinnati, but do you want to be Cincinnati? Arguably the worst team in the Big 12 this year. They lost to Baylor. 24 guys gone. I know you can't fire Scott Satterfield, first-year guy, but come on. 18 guys at Kansas State. You look at the Jerome Tang, Naquan Tomlin situation, Richard Linton, and now you look at Chris Kleiman, who just lost Colin Klein and what is one of the wilder. You say, wow, that guts you if you're Kansas State. He's your guy. He's your kid. He's going off to A&M. You're proud of him. You're happy for him. And you didn't like the late game play call in a couple situations for Kansas State. And could you win those games? And did the play call put Will Howard in a bad spot? And then, the Will Howard transferred, and then every other quarterback transferred except for Avery Johnson. And we're trying to keep him put in it. And then with Colin Klein leaving, it was a package deal for Avery Johnson to go to A&M. And thankfully, you kept him. And he's the big portal guy you wanted to keep. But, oh, wow. Avery Johnson stayed, but 18 other guys left. And then positive attrition might be Will Howard leaving. I don't think that is damning to that program. I believe that Will Howard leaving is not as bad as Blake Shapen leaving Baylor. He's the one good quarterback they had. He left. Will Howard leaving is, it's Avery Johnson's time. Avery Johnson's time. Will Howard did what he needed to do at Kansas State. Positive attrition. Everybody else leaving, I don't know if you make that case. Iowa State 13. TCU losing 12 guys, a dozen guys leaving Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel included, going to Oregon, showing to me, it's like, oh, wow, this guy went from UCF to Oklahoma. And he's leaving the SEC. Is he taking a step up to go to Oregon? Is he taking a step up to leave Oregon, to leave Oklahoma to go to Oregon? Wow, is that where Oklahoma is today? UCF loses 12 players. Texas Tech, Joey McGuire, smooth talker, also loses a dozen guys. West Virginia, 11. That's a lot of teams in double digits. Over half the teams in the Big 12 are in double digits. And I know this is part of college football now, and we got to get used to it. And there's a ton of portal guys. But my worry is, with NIL being where it sits, are these just dudes that are looking to get more money in a bigger conference? Are they looking to go SEC and Big Ten? And that, honestly, is where it is. Oregon's in the Big Ten. These quarterbacks that are transferring out. Blake Shapen just went to the SEC out of Baylor. They are looking for opportunities to make more in NIL. I can guarantee you. If you're at Kansas State, we'll say you're at Kansas State, you're the quarterback, you're making $100,000 a year. That's pretty good. I would be okay making $100,000 playing college football, and I'm not saying Kansas State's quarterbacks are. But if you get offered $500,000, Matt Rule said $1.5, $2 million for the big quarterbacks in college football, you're going to leave. It is a concern of mine that the best players in the Big 12, it's just going to be treated like a minor league. It is just going to be a minor league. This is double A. And if you want to move up to triple A, if you want to move up to the big leagues, want to go to the SEC, go to the Big 10, make big money, play for a national championship, that you started a Big 12 school, play for a couple of years, become a darling for some blue-collar team, and then say, bye. And you go to the bright lights. Thankfully, what Lincoln Riley did, coaches do it all the time. Odd. That's what Dylan Gabriel also did to Oklahoma. Then there are some teams here where like a Houston, you only lose 9 guys. To me, when your head coach is gone and you only lose 9 guys, that's pretty good. Willie Fritz coming in, too. It shows a vote of confidence from those players in Willie Fritz. BYU losing 8. Texas only losing 7, but of course, the college football playoff afterwards, they'll probably lose a couple extra. BYU losing 8 is probably a high number for a team that is so built on culture, and you don't often see as much of that positive attrition. You instead see guys that want to buy into what BYU is from a faith standpoint, mostly. Oklahoma State has 6 guys transferred out. Baylor 5, Kansas 2. For Oklahoma State, 6 is great. This is going to be a much more stable offseason, especially if Ollie Gordon stays, which looks like he will. A much more stable offseason than last year. For Baylor and Kansas, and Lance Leipold, I think it's huge. Huge. You're going to rebuild with Jeff Grimes as OC. Let's not forget, no revisionist history. He's one of the best offensive coordinators in the country a couple of years ago before he got to Dave Aranda, who was fired over a dozen assistants. The guy can't coach. Jeff Grimes is still damn good. And then but Baylor right there, only 5. Maybe Dave Aranda hasn't lost the locker room. One of the worst teams in the Big 12 had 5 guys transfer out, and then Kansas State had 18. What does that say about the Wildcats? What does it say about the Bears? That said, how do you weight it? Because Baylor had Drake Dabney and Blake Shapen, 2 of the top 5 players on the team, leave. That's not good. That 5 is weighted a lot heavier with the knowledge of, a couple of these guys were pretty solid. 2 of the best players on the team, 2 captain-level players leaving. Worried. I'm worried. Trayshawn Ward, Blake Shapen, Monroe Mills, Will Howard, Dylan Gabriel, Jaron Bradley, Deshaun Pace, Tyler Shuck. I mean, there are guys left and right that are headed out. That, I don't know. I'm grappling with whether or not the Big 12 is or will become the minor leagues. Just hey, you guys develop them and then send them to the SEC. We'll pay them more money. And if so, that's not good. We're going to need a healthy merger or a further expansion into a power. I don't think it starts with having a WWE contract on the field for the Big 12 championship. I don't know. Coming up, let's go through the coordinators all around. Got a bunch of guys fired and a few guys hired. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is where I go every single week to make money. I sit on my couch. I put in $10. I make $250. You go in. It's a daily fantasy sports platform. It's one of the best ones. It's the largest one in North America, actually. And you pick, between 2 and 6 player stat projections and watch the money roll in. Basketball season's here. You have a specials league where you can go in and create a parlay with LeBron James and Travis Kelce for 10.5 points and three-pointers and receptions. And if it hits, you win money. It's easy. You also could get a reboot on a player if he's injured in the first half, doesn't play in the second half. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege for first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Prize Picks.